This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hey indie filmmakers, I'm Griffin Hammond.
I'm Nick Bodemer, and today we'll find out that Griffin has always been wrong about monopods. Monopods.
Always been wrong about them. I have not given them a fair shake. We'll talk about the shoot that I am on in Los Angeles right now, and I decided to use some monopods for the first time in my career.
A fair shake, you say, but that's the problem with monopods is they shake. A tripod, boom.
Right.
Locked down.
I've always said a tripod is stable and a monopod's not, and surely it can't even look handheld because it's like stuck to the ground. I don't know. I just always assumed there was no point to monopods, and now I maybe I'm a believer.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'm interested to find out how that came about. Where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles right now. For a fun shoot I did yesterday. Today, right now, I'm just in an ugly hotel room. I have some of my rental gear here that we'll talk about. But yesterday, I got to shoot a really fun interview with a very famous celebrity.
Ooh.
Who you know who it is?
I know who it is. I got to see a still from the set. So
yeah.
I can confirm that there is a celebrity on or near Griffin.
Right. Unfortunately, all I can show you right now is this blurred out image of me with this mega famous celebrity. Because Nick, of course, has signed the Hey Indie Filmmakers NDA. So
of course. It's ironclad.
Yeah. It's not like it's a super top secret thing. It's just that by the time, I just filmed this interview yesterday, and by the time we drop this podcast episode, I don't think it'll be published yet at the Recount. It's an interview I did for the Recount. And so I just don't want to get ahead of myself here. I think maybe next podcast we can actually talk about who it was.
But
it's very cool.
Let's see if everyone can guess who it is based on how we talk about it through the podcast. So in the comments, you throw down your guess, and the winner gets a kudos or something. I don't know.
But yeah.
So should we talk about this gear you got?
Yeah. So one of the things I often do, you've done this with me before, when I'm in Los Angeles, is I try not to travel with all my gear. So I rented a bunch of stuff from Sammy's camera. But also this was a bigger shoot than I normally do. This was challenging in a lot of ways because it was going to be kind of a 3-camera shoot. I was going to need probably some stronger lighting. So today I'm actually using one of my rental lights. I have a Kino Celeb here, which I don't know what the price tag on it is. Let's see what the rental price tag is. It's
is it the 201 or the 401?
This is the 250. The Kino Flow Celeb 250 DMX LED fixture.
Ooh,
and Sammy's
$2,762 new. Sorry, I cut to the chase there.
It shows a deposit amount. On here it shows maybe they spent $2,800 to buy it. The rental cost is $175 a day. I suppose it is pretty bright. I have it like across my hotel room right now, but it's lighting me up pretty well. And then I'm using my own Westcott Flex light behind me to do just a backlight. I traveled with my own Westcott Flex lights just in case like everything went wrong with the rental. I tried to bring like extra
emergency
gear.
Backups. Yeah.
We hired a sound op, but I brought my own microphones and my Zoom, and I guess I can use it for the podcast, which is good. I got the Celeb going right now, and then I also rented these 2 Manfrotto monopods, and I knew I'd be shooting with the 35-100 lens on Panasonic with my 2 GH5 camera bodies. So I brought my own cameras, brought my own 35-100 millimeter lens, but I only have one of these. I actually feel like I used to have 2. I think I sold one, but I needed to rent one of those from Sammy's. I think that was pretty cheap.
One of the lenses you're saying, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only $40
same body,
a day.
same lens on both cameras. You did like a 2-camera shoot, and it sounds like you had both on monopods, so you had a second camera op?
Yeah, so we had 2 camera ops, and the thing was like, if I was doing this by myself, if I was trying to do this real low budget, I would just bring my little flex LEDs. I say low budget. They're expensive lights, but they're like, they pack easily.
Yeah.
So I don't need to like rent stuff or bring a big case. I would just use those. I'd use my own audio. I'd I'd set up some stands or something, figure out a way to get it out of the frame. And then I would just bring some lightweight tripods and shoot this on tripods. But we really wanted to go for like a handheld look for this thing. And so I needed to hire a second camera operator.
Yep.
But the biggest challenge here is that the stuff that I like to shoot, that I'm good at shooting, I've done a lot of field interviews like this where, if it lasts like 20 minutes, that's not a big deal for me to hold a camera handheld the whole time. And sometimes I'll do it with one camera and just like float back and forth. I can make that work. But I knew this interview was going to go like an hour and a half minimum.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a long interview.
It's like a long form podcast / video sort of production. And so not only do I need to have like good lights that I need to rent from Sammy's, but I also need to make sure that I have support that we can. I mean, if we're gonna do this handheld, I just didn't think I could hold a camera. I bet someone I hire could probably hold a camera for an hour and a half. I knew that me personally, I would be able to hold a handheld.
You're a
camera
runner, but
like,
the arms are very weak, right?
Yeah. I'm a skinny guy. I'm not like full of muscle. So I just know from personal experience, like after 35 minutes, I'm just gonna be like, oh, my back.
And so you operated what, the A cam and had a second op for the B cam, or how did you do that?
Yes. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what we did. And I've kind of like, I feel like I've always said monopods just don't make any sense for me. I think people are always asking me like, what monopod do you use? Did you use a monopod for that shoot? And I was like, of course not. Why would I bring something heavy around that doesn't give me any stability? I can't leave a monopod, which was actually kind of a challenge for this shoot. Like there was a moment where I was like, I'd like to go check on our third camera, the wide cam that is on a tripod right now, but I can't go do that because I can't just let go of this Manfrotto. It does have those little feet on the bottom that pop out.
That's not really designed to hold the camera, right? Or is it?
Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah.
I almost get the sense that maybe it could hold a camera at like low height, like possibly when this thing is all the way down and it's only like 3 feet tall. But if I have this lifted up to 4, 5, 6 feet, I think it would just fall over. I figured if it's not stable enough to be a tripod, but it's also like too stable to be handheld, why would you ever want to carry this piece of equipment around? But I think I found during the shoot, it does still feel plenty handheld, even though it doesn't move up and down. Just a little kind of
wave to it.
Yeah, just a little floating back and forth. And I did feel very fluid on it. Our interview subjects were moving around quite a bit in their seat, being very animated, and being on a monopod made it very easy for me to float and didn't have that like tripod fluid head feel to it.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the footage.
Yeah. One of the challenges we had...
3 cameras, 1 on a tripod, just shooting wide, I assume, with no operator, and 2 monopods, 1 on each subject, or were you doing close-ups and letting the B cam shoot like a medium shot or something?
Well, that was the fun thing about shooting on a 35 to 100 millimeter is it all the way wide was like kind of a medium wide shot. I could see like knees up, and then zooming all the way into 100, it's like a perfect close-up. And so we were just kind of floating back and forth, whatever felt good in the moment. And I could kind of zoom out and get like a what's called like a dirty shot, where it's you see like the shoulder of the interviewer in the frame with the interview subject.
Okay, but you basically had one person in your frame and the other camera had the other. Is that right?
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. But we could kind of move around and be flexible, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The funny thing was, there were several challenges on the shoot. One of them was that we hired a second camera op, and this person told me that they were vaccinated.
Okay.
Because
probably a requirement to work with.
Yeah, the celebrity guest of our interview required that everyone was vaccinated, and so that's not an unreasonable request in this day and age. And so I asked him if he was. He said yeah, and then like 3 days later, when we were like gathering everyone's proof of vaccination cards, he was like, "Oh, I don't actually have one. I'm not vaccinated." It was like, what?
So he lied to you, hoping you wouldn't ask for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so
how much
very
time
last
did you
minute.
have to? This was what, like 2 days before or something like
No,
that?
no, this was the night before the shoot. We found
my
out that we didn't have a
God.
shooter. But we found someone else. I mean,
All right, good. I mean, it's
yeah,
LA. You'd think it can't be that
Right.
hard to find somebody, right?
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah.
Can I ask? Like, what's the like? Is there a website you go on, or how do you find someone who can do it, or you just call friends, or like what's your process for finding?
This is actually
camera
like,
op?
this is something that I'm really bad at. I just have like, I don't have like the Rolodex kind of memory, or I just don't make those connections very well. It's like,
right.
and this is a good invitation to the podcast right now. I just feel like I come out to LA so often. I've taught classes out here. I've probably inspired people to become Lumix shooters in Los Angeles. And yet I don't have like a catalog of all those people. And even people that I have worked with in the past and are friends of mine, I just forget to like make the connection that like, oh yeah, they're in LA, because people move
Right.
all the time. But I have a few friends that are very good at this, and so I'll text them and be like, who do you know? And they're like, oh, well, this person, this person, this person. And my friend Justin was even like, hey, do you know this woman? And I was like, oh, yeah, I worked with her remotely. We didn't work in person together, but I've edited her footage before. I was like, of course, yeah, I should hire her. And so I contacted her. She was actually busy, but but those kinds of connections, that's how
Sure.
we figure it out.
And
but
your
yeah,
goal, you were looking for someone who had Lumix experience, right? Is you wanted them to be familiar with the camera? Was that one of the requirements when you were looking for somebody?
Yeah, I mean, ideally. I mean, I still spent some time with this camera op. He had used these cameras before, but probably needed a refresher and a look at the settings I was using. So
Right.
we walked through the settings. But what's nice about someone who actually does this for a living is they know what focused footage looks like, and they can like solve problems.
Yeah.
They're not completely brand new at this.
Have you seen all the footage yet? Did everything come out the way you were
Yeah,
hoping
it
on the other camera?
all came out great. But the big challenge, besides like needing the monopods, knowing this was a long shoot, for a long shoot like this, it meant that I was bringing 3 cameras, which is already a little bit more than I usually shoot with. I mean, some of my shoots are like 1 or 2 cameras. I was bringing 3 cameras, and knowing that this could go like 2 hours long, I wanted to be prepared. So I brought 3 batteries for each camera. I think I only owned 6 batteries, so I had to buy 3 more Lumix batteries to make sure I had 9 batteries.
Yep.
And then I only have maybe I have 5 or 6 SD cards that I use. And so I bought like 4 more SD cards. But then even then, this shoot went way longer than we expected. Like we thought we had an hour and a half to do this interview. But it was kind of like a really fun interview that just kept going. And I guess like the limitation that this guest had in terms of scheduling, it wasn't a hard out. So he was like, yeah, we can just keep going. So I mean, we'll cut out a lot in the final product, but like I think the actual on-camera interview may have gone 2.5, almost 3 hours.
So did you have to do battery and card swaps? Obviously you did, right?
Yeah, we did battery swaps once. We did card swaps, but then like there was a point when I'm looking at one of the cameras and I'm like, well, that camera has 10 minutes left now, and like that's our last SD card. Because I think the other thing, had I known it was going to go so long, I may have done a different strategy here. I decided, well, we have plenty of SD cards. Let's go ahead and do backup recording on every camera. So A-cam, B-cam, and wide-cam.
Yeah.
Let's record to 2 SD cards just in case, because it'd be real dumb to like. I've never lost footage on an SD card, but man, it would be stupid to like even just like break an SD card by accident or something. So yeah, I was backing up everything. But in retrospect, maybe I wouldn't have done that on our wide shot, for example.
Well, and with such an important shoot, though, wouldn't you think just double up on SD cards? Like the real cost of SD cards is pretty low.
I mean,
you should just have more with you next time, maybe.
Yeah, I guess now I know these can go 3 hours. I thought, surely,
no way. Yeah.
It's roughly going to be an hour. Maybe it'll go to an hour and a half, and I'll be prepared for 2 or 2.5 hours.
Look, can we talk? I'm actually kind of interested in the actual swap. So, the interview is ongoing. Do you find a natural break in the interview, and kind of does the interview pause, or do you just like you do one camera and the other 2 cameras are picking it up, and you kind of roll through the battery swaps that way? What's the process?
We did both. I was monitoring. I could look over at my second camera op and we could like read each other's minds a little bit. I could see if he was running out of space. And then I had a monitor set up for the wide shot so that I could view it from my position. And so I was always monitoring to make sure, one, it's still rolling, two, it has time left on the battery and the SD cards. And at one point, we were doing a lot of like, hey, guest, watch this clip on this TV back here, and then react to it. And there was a moment where he was watching something, and I thought, I have just enough time here while the host like sets up this clip where I know like I don't need my shot. I'll just turn off my camera, pop out the battery, pop in a new battery real fast, because I was getting low and I didn't want to be in a position where I was going to have to pause the interview. But then when like we get to the end of the SD cards, it was like I kind of know all three cameras are going to be doing this at the same time, so let's go ahead and let's cut the interview for a moment and
you just say something to your host that, hey, look, just give us 60 seconds or
yeah. And we have like our executive producer on set, and so I would just call him over because I know that he's managing a bunch of things. Maybe the booker is telling him our guest needs to go soon. So I know there's a lot of he might know the interview's about to end, and I don't know that. So I'm not gonna like cut on my own. So I would just pull him over and I'd point to the screen.
What's your position or title on a set on a shoot like this? I mean, I assume you're a little more than just camera guy, right?
I was the DP / director. So I set up all the lighting. I rented all the gear. I kind of designed what this shoot would look like.
I saw a still from the interview. There was a lot of really cool like background lighting. Was that just from the venue, or is that something you set up?
Yeah, that was from the venue. This was a restaurant that's also kind of like a jazzy nightclub. So it has a very like dark feel with lots of like blue, like kind of strip lighting around the room. And I should mention, I'm probably showing I have some behind the scenes footage I can show during this this episode, but I think I had all the cameras white balanced for the lighting that I had set up, but during our setup, the cameras were still on like daylight white balance, and so all the footage looks very yellow, all the behind the scenes footage, because it's like incandescent lighting in the room before we turned off those lights.
Got it.
We
won't
just
judge
had to
you
get
too
that.
harshly.
Yeah, I don't want you to judge me based on the behind the scenes footage. But yeah, it was a cool environment to shoot in, and then I brought in those key lights, the Kino Flow Celebs, and then I also rented some backlights, which were more powerful than I needed. These were the Lowell Toda LEDs. They are $350 LED lights, and I can rent them for $35 a day. So I picked up two of those, and I think even when I dialed them down to their lowest, they were brighter than I needed for a backlight. So I actually ended up throwing like and I thought they were too blue, so I threw a CTO plus ND gel on them, which knocks them down a stop, but also turns them more orangey. Yeah. So I thought that gave the backlight just kind of a more natural look. It just kind of felt like, oh, that's a real light somewhere in the background that's like casting that glow on them.
Nice.
So yeah, I thought the shoot went well. We got all the footage, and we got good sound from our sound op, and everything was great.
So who do you think the celebrity guest was? Find out next time on Handy Filmmakers. Should we thank our sponsor, Griffin?
We should. And after the break, we're going to talk about the weird audio issue you had in our last podcast recording and why you're doing something completely different this time.
Sorry. Handy Filmmakers is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your filmmaking business.
I mentioned that I had to find some camera ops in Los Angeles, and one of the things I would do after people recommend people to me is that I would Google them, and it was always the people that had a website where I could look and see, oh yes, this person actually calls themselves a DP or a cinematographer, and look, there's an example of their work. I know this person's legit. I feel comfortable hiring them.
Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Griffin to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So I had a little audio problem, apparently, last episode. My apologies. I'm still not 100% sure what happened.
Yeah, so this was weird because we didn't even notice while we were recording. It was only when I was editing, and I was kind of slow to edit. So like I'd been working on the first part of the episode, and I was like, "Oh, this is all perfect." And then there's a moment in the episode where I start talking about the microphone that I'm using in New York and how great it is, and you're like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great mic," and then all of a sudden your mic just cuts out completely. Yeah, you can hear like a little click, and I was like, well, this is terrible. And usually you record sometimes you record like backup audio, right? Have you been doing that?
Yeah, so I mean, my audio setup before was Blue Baby Bottle mic into a Zoom H4n set up in audio interface mode, plugged in over USB to my computer, and then I use Audio Hijack. Audio Hijack records that input to a file, and then I also record our FaceTime call
Right.
to a separate file that I believe has just you on it.
So it doesn't even have you.
Yeah, I think it doesn't
Okay.
have me. But then I also have, my camera on my my audio from my camera recording as like an emergency backup, which thankfully we didn't have to fall back to because that sounded pretty bad.
Yeah, you offered to send me the camera audio, but I looked at the file and I realized it didn't completely cut out. It just got really, really quiet. So my first instinct was like, well, maybe Nick like bumped his gain knob or something. But it seemed weird because it like clicked. It wasn't like it wasn't like the sound of you bumping into it. It was like the sound of something like failing in the audio recording.
Right.
But it was still there, and so I just lifted up the gain a whole bunch, and of course that brought a whole bunch of noise up with it. A bad signal to noise ratio, which is why you set your levels appropriately in the first place to avoid that. But you were actually pretty clear when I lifted up the gain. So I applied some noise reduction, and so it didn't ruin the clarity of your voice. We could still hear you for the rest of the podcast. It just introduced a worse sounding recording, just a bad recording. Yeah. So I'm sure people noticed that in the last episode.
So, the H4n that I'd been using as my audio interface, one, it's a field recorder. It's not really designed to be a permanent audio interface.
Yeah.
I was telling you, it's still got the mini USB connector on it, which was replaced by micro USB like a long time ago. That thing is like over 10 years old. I think we determined. We bought it together like a million years ago.
Yeah.
So
even my more modern H5, well, not that much more modern than the H4n, that still uses mini USB. And
mini USB is the worst.
I have battery problems with my H5, so I always have it plugged into a USB charger thing.
And so that was my first thought, was like, I bet that USB port, the bad connection or something. But then the fact that there was audio and it was just too low, it's like, the USB port is digital, and I would think it's kind of all or nothing. We'd either have the signal or not have the signal. I don't think it could mess with the levels of the signal. So I think our best guess is maybe the phantom power failed.
Yeah, I don't know enough about if that's possible, but that seems like... that I'm pretty sure I've tried recording something with phantom power accidentally turned off before, and you do get some levels. They're just real low. Right. So that's my guess, that somehow phantom power failed mid-recording. I don't know why that would happen.
When Griffin told me that the audio had cut out, I went back and I tested my setup, and it was working fine. So whatever it was started working again. But I decided, it was time to replace that thing anyway. So I bought a new USB audio interface, and just to be on the safe side, I replaced the XLR cable as well. Seemed prudent to spend the $6 on a new XLR cable just in case. So I got the Scarlett 2i2 by Focusrite.
Yes.
Which I think is a pretty common USB interface. It's not super high end. I think it was like $160 or something like that.
Yeah, I know people that use that, so I figured that must be a decent option.
Yeah, no, I mean, it had decent reviews. It's certainly not like going to set the world on fire as like the most high quality thing on the planet, but I can tell you already, it's so much more convenient to have, a box that's designed to sit on your desk and do this. Like, I've got a gain knob, which I didn't have before. I had to go into like menus and click buttons in order to change the levels. I've got a LED indicator that tells me if I'm, it's green when there's good signal. It turns yellow when you're like above -6 dB. So, you're approaching clipping, and then it turns red if you clip. So I've got some feedback on that. It's got headphone output, and I got the 2i2, meaning 2 inputs. So I could, in theory, record 2 mics. They have a 1 input version, but I figured, someday I might need to record 2 mics or, instrument and a mic or something like that. Yeah. So.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes if anyone's interested in the product.
And then I didn't even think about this until I set it up, but it's got a headphone output. So now I have a permanent output for my, like Sony mixing headphones that I can throw on whenever I want, which is also nice. Because I had that before on my amp for my computer speakers, but plugging in the headphones would kill this, so I'd have to unplug and plug. Now I just have another output I can choose. That's my headphones, so...
Well, presumably you had a headphone jack on your H4n too, right?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Although I've never used it during
I'm not sure it shows up as an output device, does it? Oh, maybe it does.
Oh, no. It probably wouldn't be an output device from the computer, but would you? Yeah. I wonder if it would still let you monitor the recording.
Probably. Yeah. But this is a full
but you're
output.
Saying this actually works fully as an output device, so you could just be editing video.
I can pick the Scarlett as an audio output device, either an audio hijack or as like the Mac audio output. So.
Right. So not just for when you're recording and monitoring your recording. Right. You could use it for anything. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm pleased. Hopefully this recording sounds good and I didn't screw up the levels.
Yeah. When you mentioned it's not like the most high-end thing in the world, but I can't imagine wanting to spend more than that. Like, considering that like an audio recorder that can do a lot of this stuff and record on its own as a field recorder, those go for like $250 or $300 or something. Right. It's hard for me to imagine spending more than like $150 on a.
I read some articles from some podcasters that I really follow, and some of them who know audio really well, and like they said, like if money's no object, like if you spend $800 or $900, you're gonna get better quality preamps, and for like some of the really high end microphones, it matters.
Yeah,
but. For what we do, I'm pretty pleased with the budget option.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cool. The one they recommend, just if someone's going to ask, marco.org/podcasting microphones is the article I read, and he knows his stuff. Where's that USB? He recommends the Shoot. Can't find it, so we'll talk about it another time.
Well, and I'm sure you'll find it, and we'll put it in the show notes. We can put some of your research in there.
Good idea. I like it.
Well, the next thing I need to do today is I need to pack up all this rental gear and drive it back to Sammy's. I actually got a lot of stuff. I got 4 C-stands, which are pretty heavy. So I got a lot of stuff in the back of my rental SUV that I got to take back.
It'd be good for you to work on those arm muscles a little bit.
Yeah. My back is already sore.
All right, we probably need to wrap it up. I'm guessing you're running out of time on the old camera.
Yeah, so that's the funny thing. I mentioned that I was running low on SD cards for the shoot, and pretty much this is my only free SD card that's left that we're recording this on.
What are we down to?
We got 12 minutes left.
Oh, we got all kinds of time. Let me find something else to talk about.
Normally I record on a 64 gig card that gets me like an hour and a half. That's what I was doing yesterday, and today, so I'm getting like 40 minutes or something on this. 32
you probably don't need to shoot yourself in 4K. I don't shoot in 4K since I have to send you the files. You could have dropped down to HD and gotten. Then we could have really dropped some hints about the celebrity.
I think on this camera, the bit rates for 4K and 1080 are similar. So even if I was shooting in 1080, I would still be taking up as much space on the SD card.
I see.
Yeah. And I like shooting in 4K because it does look, my experience is that it does look clearer even in a 1080 timeline than shooting native in 1080.
So you just like to look better than me is what you're saying in the podcast. Yeah. I would shoot 4K, but since I have to send you the files every time, it just seems not worth it.
Yeah.
We actually, our system we've kind of locked in on this Resilio sync is for our file sharing. I mean, it works pretty good. Like you have all my files within 15, 20 minutes of us stopping recording?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before that like the benefit of this is that there's no like server that it's not like you're uploading and then I'm downloading. It's actually sending directly to me.
Right.
And it fixes the problem of like disconnections by it doesn't need all of it at once. It can get little pieces of the file and then it can pick it up later.
And we have like a shared folder now where I just drop files into a folder on my Mac and Griffin's Mac immediately starts downloading them. Like there's no manual intervention either, which is handy. Anyhow.
Although we'll do a little business here while recording. I think I need you to send me the invite again for that folder because it's only working on my old machines. My new MacBook doesn't seem to recognize that it's like allowed to download from you or something.
Well, maybe I don't want you to be allowed. You ever think of that? You need a read-write link.
Or there's probably even just like, I guess I'm probably already invited and approved. Even if you can send me like a share link or something over iMessage, I can probably.
Griffin, it is in your iMessages live on the podcast. We are solving problems.
We're just doing work right now. Let me just click this link.
Boom.
Open the link. There it is. And I'm pending approval.
We'll see. We'll see if I decide you're worth approving.
Nick just approved me.
All right. Well, travel safe.
Yeah. It's fun that our last two episodes now have been on the road.
On the road again. When are you going to come to Vegas, man? You're actually not that far from me, you know.
No, yeah.
It's too bad. I should have come. I was like, ooh, maybe I need to come to LA and be your cameraman, but I don't think
Right,
I'm
when our
qualified.
camera op dropped out, I texted you like, any chance? I knew it was too far for you to come, but just wanted to at least throw it out
I've
there.
made the drive before, and to be in the presence of such a celebrity, wow, what an opportunity.
Such a secret celebrity that we'll talk about next time. I'm sorry for teasing everyone.
All right, we will talk to you next time.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye. Oh, we gotta stop.
Oh,
I never rolled video. Not even a little bit. I am sorry. I don't know what I was doing.
that's okay.
That's bad.
Here, I will
I got so
delete
set
the
on
recording I have
Sorry.
so that I get 4 minutes back. It's okay.
Oh my God.